Guys, we're out here on beautiful Smithfield Lake. We're getting ready to try out some new electronics that I just installed on the boat. It's been back ordered for a couple months and it finally came in, and it's been sitting in my garage for about 4 weeks. Shame on me for not getting it mounted, but here it is. It's the new Humminbird Mega 360. Don't know much about it yet. We'll be trying it out. I did have a standard 360, and I can tell you all the mounting hardware, at least for the Ultrex, is the same. This is actually a transducer shield and saber mount that I had on my standard 360, and it mounted right back up to help give it support. Up here where your wires are coming out, I can tell you the difference is the small one is going to be your power cord, and Humminbird did a good thing by giving you an extra 10 feet of power cord, so I didn't actually have to put a splice in my line to get back to where I'm running power to. I wish they would do that with all their graphs, give you enough power cord to get to either a junction box or a battery, but they don't. The second thing, and the biggest change, is this cord here. This cable is actually a transducer cable, and it runs down my wire loom, and it actually goes over straight to the graph now. Before, the wire that would come out was actually the Ethernet cable, which would go back to where I have my Ethernet port, and it would tie in there and then distribute the view on all the graphs, where this one actually comes out and goes straight to this graph. There was enough cables in the box, because it's like a 9-pin, I believe, and it does plug. There's another little pigtail that will allow you to plug right into the back of your graph. Now, my unit has Mega Down Imaging Plus, and I did not want to lose my Mega Down Imaging here on the trolling motor, so I had to buy a Y cable, a splitter cable, and it's specifically for the Mega 360, and I believe there's 2 cables, one for the Helix, one for the Solix. You guys can get online and check that. Basically, it comes out and it's going to Y down under here, and then both cables will come up here. They'll tie in down underneath. That's where I got mine wired, and it will give you the 360 Mega, and then it will also allow you to run your regular transducer cable for your Mega Down Plus or your Mega Side. When we get on the water, I'll show you my different graphs and show you the software update that I did that you have to run it. But for now, let's get on the water. Let's try this thing out and see if we can get some good images. Alright guys, now that we're out on the water, we'll talk about the graphs and the software update that you'll need to do. My graphs, I actually have 2. This first one right here is going to be a Generation 2. It's a Helix 12. It is a down imaging GPS graph, but it's not a Mega. So I do not know if the 360 Mega will actually work with this one. Now my front graph is a new Generation 3 Helix 12, and it's a down imaging Mega Plus, and this is where all my transducer, the 360 transducers, ran to. Now, according to their manual, this is the first graph that has to come on, and it has to be linked to my port through the Ethernet, which then also is hooked up to this graph. So the information has to go to the front graph, back to the port, and then up to this graph. So first thing you need to do is power up your graph. we're going to check and see what software you're running. Now, to do the software check, hit your menu to go to the startup, and then to go to system status. And this is going to give you a breakdown of the status of your unit, which mine's a Mega down imaging plus GPS G3N. My software version is a 2.18. According to my manual, you have to have a minimum of 2.13. So the first thing I had to do was upgrade this new graph with a software update to run the Mega 360. If we come down to my Generation 2 graph, it's got the 2.18 also, and it is a Helix 12 chirp down imaging GPS G2N. So this also tells you how many hours. This graph actually has 139 hours. My front one already has 56 hours on it. So according to the manual, we'll see if we can see if this Mega 360 works. You can get online. There's a lot of guys got YouTubes on how to update your software. It's not that difficult. There's also directions on Hummingbird's website to help you with that. So the first thing we need to do is bring up the Generation 3 where the 360 is actually hooked to. We'll see what it's going to do. There's Smithville Lake. Now when you update your graph, you're going to lose all your settings because you have to restore them to default. Now under menu, all the way over, network source setup, you'll have to go here. And there's your status. There's side imaging, which this one does not have side imaging, but it can, I believe, read the one in the back on my 12 because they're networked together. My 360 is a Mega 360. It says right there. There's your temp, there's your GPS. So this one's already set up. The iPilot just linked up. So we're going to fire up the second one. Menu, normal setup. Now mine at the top, if you noticed, it said transducer not connected because this unit would not be able to recognize the Mega down imaging plus. So it's basically right now set up for GPS and hopefully 360. Let's find out. Go across the top to network. Network setup. I don't have any transducers right now for it. And it's check marked, but it's not highlighted. So we will see if this graph will actually run it. It might not run it, but it is set up in the network. Before, it would have standard 360, it would not show the Mega. So let's get out of that. Here's my GPS, and I've got some Missouri Department of Conservation brush piles right there. So oh, I forgot, the Mega 360 has side imaging mode, which I don't want to do. That's something new that I didn't even know it had. I forgot. No, we do not want that. Here's Mega 360. Let's see if we can get just the 360. It looks like something possibly is interfering with it. I am getting tons of interference from my trolling motor. There it is. If I hit my spot lock, I will instantly get interference. And there came the spot lock. So now I'm going to get nothing but interference. So, already running into a problem, which I will have to get online and figure out. I'm getting interference from my Ultrex, thanks to a cell phone and being able to get online and look at some discussion boards. I have now got my 360 to work with the trolling motor running. Basically what you have to do for my case is go into your menu under sonar, go down here to noise filter. Mine was set at a default at 1, and the minute you go to 1, as you can see on both units, we get noise filter, or interference, because it ain't noise filter, it's interference from the trolling motor on both units. But if we go in, move noise filter to number 2, it clears it up. I don't know if this one's got it. If this one needs to change or not. It might not even let me, because it's just running through this. It's running through the front graph to this graph. So anyway, I did solve one of my problems. Now I just got to figure out how to get the down imaging to work on the front graph, because I would like down imaging 2D sonar on this graph with my 360 on this graph, and I don't know if that's going to be possible because the front graph is not recognizing the down imaging transducer. So stay tuned, hopefully I can figure this out.